Welcome back yet again, everyone. This is the sixth and, yes, final part of our Chapter 21 lecture series for your textbook, Give Me Liberty by Dr. Eric Foner. This section is entitled A New Conception of America. The focus question for this section is, how did the Popular Front influence American culture in the 1930s? The New Deal made ethnic pluralism, an idea that had emerged during the Progressive Era, a living reality in American politics. Many ethnic Americans, Jews, Italians, etc., achieved high positions in government in this period. And this period more broadly was the time when more ethnic Americans came to be defined as fully white. And despite continued conservative resistance, the Communist Party grew at a remarkable rate in the 1930s, especially among ethnic American groups. The left in general became an umbrella term for socialist, communists, labor radicals, and many New Deal liberals. And this coalition came to be defined as the Popular Front, which urged the reform of the capitalist system rather than a full-scale communist revolution. This Popular Front coalition's effect on popular culture was deep and long-lasting. The Popular Front championed this idea of the common man, the average everyday working American. And this idea of the common man became the embodiment of democratic virtue. Artworks about the people, such as the painting you see here, came to be seen as expressions of genuine Americanism. And the Popular Front promoted the idea that American strength lay in its diversity, tolerance, and the rejection of ethnic prejudice and class privilege. This rejection of prejudice and privilege also slowly but surely began to extend to the African American community as well, and Popular Front culture condemned racism as incompatible with true Americanism. The communist influence of the Popular Front spread even to the South and helped bring attention to what was known as the Scottsboro case. And this was a legal case where 9 young black men were falsely accused of raping 2 white women. And to make a long story short, the outcome of this trial was that the Supreme Court ruled that African Americans had the right to effective legal counsel and could not be excluded from juries. A profound change in the nature of the legal system and the way it dealt with African American defendants. The CIO also promoted the unionization of black workers in this period, an unprecedented move that also altered the labor movement as well. Popular Front public culture promoted the mobilization of civil liberties, especially the right of labor to organize into unions. There was now a broader understanding of civil liberties, and the federal government became a protector of freedom of expression. And civil liberties began to replace this idea of liberty of contract as the judicial foundation of freedom. However, again, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. And the House Un-American Activities Committee was formed, which demonstrated this pushback against free expression. The House Un-American Activities Committee was a committee that was put together to try to combat what it saw as the pernicious influence of socialism and communism in American politics. And this Un-American Activities Committee would have profound implications, especially after World War II, as we shall see later on in the course. Signs of the end of the New Deal began in the mid-1930s when growing numbers of Southern Democrats, remember Roosevelt was himself a Democrat, were at odds with Roosevelt's New Deal policies. The South in general lagged far behind the rest of the country despite the New Deal programs. And Southern Democrats feared that continued federal intervention in the South would encourage more unionization nation and upset the delicate balance of race relations as Southern leaders saw it. This political stalemate within the Democratic Party, coupled with the gathering storm in Europe, the rise of fascism in Germany and Italy, ultimately ended the New Deal by the late 1930s. The New Deal ultimately had profound effects on American society and politics that reverberated throughout the rest of the 20th century and even here into the 21st century. The New Deal ushered in a new expanded federal role in the American economy that has not abated since. It also transformed the physical environment through the numerous public works projects initiated by Roosevelt's New Deal programs. It helped to restore Americans' faith in democracy, a faith that was somewhat on a tenuous position, particularly after World War I. It also recast the idea of freedom itself to include economic security for ordinary citizens, a debate that is still raging into the present day. And there it is, folks. That concludes the sixth and, yes, final part of our Chapter 21 lecture series for your textbook, Give Me Liberty by Dr. Eric Foner. As always, I hope you learned a lot, study hard, and I'll see you soon.